three big issues right now at a macroeconomic level that all companies are suffering in India, mostly the technology companies. One of the biggest issue right now that we are grappling with is the downturn, slowdown, almost disappearance of the demand, and delays in decisions by the customers to acquire technology products, extending the life of the technology products longer so that they don't have to buy. This is a bad sign, and this is putting the whole industry into a downward spiral. But it is to some extent uh, kind of explainable and is to some extent even tolerable because globally the situation is similar. Many Asian countries, particularly emerging countries, are facing the same problem. So, this plight of the industry at a macro level is pretty much similar. That doesn't give us any consolence, so to say, but it does tell us that uh, industry globally are going to suffer. But we have got a second big problem, and that is a bigger problem than the first problem. And that problem is the problem of rupee devaluation and uncertainty in the exchange rate. Exchange has never played havoc in the area, in the aspect of business operations as badly as what it has done in the last 2 years. And in the last 3 months has been terrible, just about terrible. It is impossible for business enterprises to even plan out their business model, distribution model, their cost structures, and their company's operations within the limits of kind of allowable SG&A, which is selling general and administrative expenses. With the result, the operating profits fell badly for the whole industry, including for Canon. This is a bigger issue. Uncertainty on the exchange rate even causes a bigger issue because we don't even know what the price should be. Whether we keep the price of today, keeping today's dollar in mind, or tomorrow's dollar in mind. And can we change prices like we do in the stock market? Can your price of the products fluctuate like a share? It can't. There is an MRP sticker on it, which takes almost 2 3 months to even think about changing it. You pay duty on MRP. It is not easy. So, this is the second very big macroeconomic situation. And third is that for the industry and for many companies, people are not seeing any solution to it. This is creating a little bit anxiety amongst people that not only the first part is hitting us, not only the second part is hitting us. When do we see the end of it? When do we see the solution? So, in this situation, managing operations becomes a little bit more challenging.
But you are
Usually, when you see today, you can see dark clouds. But when you see tomorrow and when you see day after tomorrow, you can begin to see the dark clouds going away and you can begin to see a little bit better sunshine. And there is no doubt about it because fundamentals of demand generation continues to exist. And what are those fundamentals? First fundamental of demand creation is the whole technology changes that occur. Technology is in today's world one of the best and most compelling proposition for demand creation. If the technologies did not create newer virtues and newer options and newer applications, the demand would not have got created. And we all know it. I mean, it's all because of technology that a great amount of industries get created. That part continues. The pace of technology development, the pace of newer products introductions continues ceaselessly by all companies. So that's one fundamental why I see a sunshine day after tomorrow. The second major fundamental in this situation is that for all people are hungry for basically creating an economic activity because all of us are governed by the fact that we must work, we must get jobs, we must earn, better, because there is an aspiration amongst all of us to have a better life. If there's an aspiration in one guy, you can say there is one small energy. When the similar aspiration is in millions of people, and now about 1 billion people in India, that means it is aggregated huge energy that from a human side, from people side, is going to be available for a good time, during a good time, into a far greater force. That's the second important factor that I feel is going to is behind my positive feeling that soon the sunshine will occur. First quarter was bad. Second quarter we began to see a little bit of green shoots, and third quarter, which is our third quarter, which is calendar quarter of July, August, September, we are beginning to see single digit growth. So last 2 months we have grown at about 5% over last year, but in the previous two quarters, which is Jan to March and April, May, June, actually it declined over last year as a company. So we are now expecting a fourth quarter to be even better than the third quarter, which will probably mean that we will close this year with the flat growth. We were 1850 crore last year, and we are hopeful of closing this year with 1850 crores. Thing that I didn't mention right now, because we began this dialogue talking about economic situation or a business environment. There is another force that works in the technology space, which is what reconfigures the category or reconfigures the industry depending on newer technology inventions, or sometimes newer technology propositions from across categories, across industries. In other words, sometimes your competitors are not your typical, traditional, conventional competitors, but your competitors begin to come from areas that you never imagined. Now, this is one of that thing happened in the first two quarters quite badly, which was the smartphones began to create demand for themselves in the photography area, and the compact camera began to get hit. So in the first two quarters, the hit on the compact camera was rather severe, and since it came down, and it started happening from the last year third quarter, I can say that this year the compact camera industry is going to shrink by 32-33%. From 30 lakhs units last year, this year should be about 20 lakhs. So this is an impact that you can't associate with the economy, you can't associate with the business environment, but you would associate this with what I call it the technology churn, or what you can call it as a reconfiguration on account of the technology. But why am I hoping better for third and fourth quarter? The answer lies in the fact that simultaneously another wind started blowing. And that wind was where people began to associate digital SLR as a true camera, or our high-end optical zoom cameras, etc., as a true camera. They began to see these products to be actually gratifying their hunger for better photography. And that's the key. And that helped us to get our third quarter and our fourth quarter. And going forward, therefore, we see green shoots emerging as a digital SLR industry for us is expected to grow at 20%. This is in the B2C area. In B2B area, the managed document services, which is the whole print service contracts that we do, began to gain momentum. Now, what happened in the first two quarters, and why third and fourth quarter getting even better, is that in the first two quarters, all large enterprises got badly impacted, and they began to see their bottom line eroding fast. And as it was eroding fast, they began to focus, like what we also do as a large enterprise, into optimization of your processes, into how do you reduce your cost, and how can you make cost structures a little bit more flexible so that it moves up and down depending on where the business is moving. Not easy. In India, the fixed cost component is rather high. In the rest of the world, companies have created business models to keep the fixed cost structures percentage of that rather lower, as much as possible. and the flexible component is higher, which means if the things are bad, overnight you can rip off, or you can just shelve the variable cost structures. Fixed become permanent. In India, people are used to having bigger capex. So now large enterprises began to convert their capex into opex, and they began to realize that any business proposition that helps in the form of higher opex is a better proposition. And in our B2B business, the managed print services turned out to be the darling of the large enterprises, and that proposition helped us even in the bad of the time. Therefore, our managed print services have emerged as immunity to the slowdown, and it is still growing, and therefore our B2B business grew 15% and even getting. So when we look at the printing business, we look at it in two parts. We look at managed print services, which is the service proposition where we take a whole contract from a customer, look at what they are doing printing, and completely redesign the architecture of the device network that they deploy in their company wide across branches. And we have about 87 odd such customers that we signed up. We are hopeful to sign up with 13 more this year, to close this year with 100 managed print services customers, with print volumes going from 1 lakh a month to as high as 50 lakhs a month. So that's called the print services. These are large enterprises. So some of the customers that I can mention are Yes Bank. We signed up with Anand and Anand, the legal firm, Lakshmi Kumaran legal firm. We are running this contract with Maruti Suzuki in automobile, with Mindtree in IT space, Ranbaxy in the pharma space, Dr. Reddy Laboratory. In banking area, we have done it with Axis Bank. We are with the consulting companies like KPMG. So many companies across, real estate companies like DLF, Unitech and BPTP. So we've got plenty of such customers. The other part of printing is the area of what I call it IT peripherals, which is the boxes where consumers buy inkjet printers for their homes to do printing. SMEs buy laser printers for their offices. This part has had a very interesting pattern in the last 6-8 months. Inkjet printer, for instance, as an industry, has remained flat. It's not growing. It's not growing because probably the laptops and the PC industry is also not growing combined. In fact, PCs are declining, laptop is now very single digit growth or maybe even flat, so it's not growing. For the market share, which is a different dimension of matrix, even though the industry is flat, like I mentioned, market share of Canon increased phenomenally. In fact, not small, phenomenally. The right data that I may share with you is that Canon had 19% market share last year in inkjet printers, and our market share in the first 6 months of this calendar year increased to 26%. Even better news is that in July, August, September, with few bulk orders that we have got, we are expecting a market share touching almost 30%. So our own relative standing and position enhanced. We became stronger. However, overall wind is a little bit not very buoyant. But if we are becoming stronger, imagine what would be when the winds turn from headwinds to tailwinds. And that's the hope of it. Education is still in India predominantly under the control of government. All leading institutes in India, higher education, predominantly major ones, and the adoption of technology in education vertical starts from top. Good institutes must accept it so that the momentum gathers, and that part needs a lot of government funds for investment, so the pace is a little bit slow. However, the private colleges, engineering and management, etc., many of them have already started adopting technology a lot in this whole educational ecosystem. And Canon has now recently moved into other services that we call it as business services, not just print services but business services, which include digitization. So digitization is an important component in many of these verticals: BFSI, healthcare, and education. And in all these cases, most of the content and information lies in hard copy. Prescriptions of patients in healthcare, for instance, or the applications in insurance companies or in on banking, etc., account statements, etc. Similarly, in education, all the applications, papers, just about everything still lies in a hard copy. Can you imagine? Can a student see the answer sheet after he has submitted the answer sheet? Why not? Why should I, as a student, appear in an exam, write the exam, submit my sheets? Why next 1 hour that whole, with a password of course, be not visible to me? And why should the correct answer sheet be not visible to me? Why do I depend on this anxiety, hope, and trust, and sometimes just luck as to what I'm going to score? All of this is possible with digitization, and that's the effort in which we are persuading the industry to move to adopt the globally best. Different parts of technology are working in a different way, but there are a few things which are common. You can call them as an underlying architecture of a new age technology platform. One thing that no doubt is being incorporated everywhere is the connectivity, which is Wi-Fi. So more and more products you're going to see Wi-Fi. In fact, more and more things will connect Wi-Fi. People connect with people through phones, and the best Wi-Fi example that comes to our mind is the mobile phone. But that's how many people? There are 7 billion people in the world. At best, there would be 7 billion people talking to 7 billion people, I mean, across each other. So there's a limit to it. But how many things can talk to things? There are trillions of things that exist everywhere. So when things connect, why should a table not have a Wi-Fi connectivity, or a refrigerator not have a Wi-Fi connectivity, or your house not have a Wi-Fi connectivity, or a car not have a Wi-Fi connectivity? Just about everything. So that's one trend in which it is moving. Whether it is in automobile, whether it is in pharma, whether it is in RFID, anything that or logistics, everywhere Wi-Fi is going to play a strong role. The second thing is, of course, the consumer behavior using social marketing. So as the social marketing is ensuring that people are connected with people through these social marketing platforms, more and more products that people use, they want those products to also get connected in some way. So whether it is a camera getting connected to social marketing, apart from a mobile phone, your iPads are going to get connected because of the Wi-Fi and all this. So many of the social marketing behavior of people, humans, is going to influence the technology that will go into the devices that they are going to use. So this is the other area in which they are talking. The third thing, of course, which is gaining ground everywhere, is the multifunctionality. That has been there for last few years, but it is gaining ground even more. So how can a product do multiple functions, etc.? So this is the other area. Fourth trend in which it is moving is how can we make products which reduces service complications. As products are becoming cheaper, service is becoming costlier. As people will earn more, labor cost will increase more, logistics is going to become more expensive, movement of people will become expensive. How do you provide service to people, hundreds of millions of people, at their doorstep for the products which are going to be installed and deployed there? So can we create a technology that is almost like either fixed through internet, through Wi-Fi, using those software solutions and applications, or where servicing cost is very low? A guy goes, removes one part of the box completely. It's like a drawer technology. You remove a drawer, you put another drawer. It's done. In 5 minutes, drawer is replaced. Not opening the drawer, looking at circuits inside, taking a component out, putting another component inside, fixing it, and keeping the same drawer. So the direction which it is moving is how can we reduce the service cost more and more.
Right. And last question, when do you see the lighting at the end of the tunnel when it comes to Indian economy? How many months it will take?
So there's no magic, first of all.
Right.
The only thing is that there are pattern of things that have to go connected with each other that can lift the gloom or the dark clouds out and bring that sunshine that I'm very optimistic about. So question is, what are those series of things? Plenty of them. First most important part in that series is the leadership of the nation. India is a still highly closed economy. It is still highly dependent on governance, onto the government. So government change whenever it happens, and if the leadership becomes good that time, that's the first important piece. Maybe one small dark cloud will go away. Then comes the second cloud, and the second cloud will go away when the government or the leaders who come after the government change, or when the elections happen and there is some leadership there, is to bring about reforms. And without the reforms, they're not going to change. You change nothing, outcome is going to be the same thing. So the reforms become very important, and I am hopeful that now, after having fixed more populist measures, now the time comes for fixing some of the economic matters. And if you don't do this, the scope and the room for government and the leaders or the politicians to maneuver to create more populist things is all gone. We will only go into the downward spiral. The third important piece is the global piece. The globally situation must get better. And I'm hopeful that now globally things will get better, because some of the drastic surgeries, and if not drastic, some surgeries has begun to happen